We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Lopez will lead that, and our opening prayer will be with Councilman Andazola. So please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord God, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day which you bestowed upon us, Lord. We thank you for this rain that we're getting, and we hope we get more. We pray for all our city employees, our directors, and we pray for the council up here to make decisions tonight for what's best for our city. We ask this to Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll move on to item number 5. These are citizen comments on agenda items. Did you have any, Tammy? No. Then we'll move on to number 6, citizens' comments on non-agenda items. And we do have 2, one from Paul Allen. Would you like to speak now, or would you like to speak? There's nothing on the agenda. You want to speak now? Then why don't you go ahead? You have 5 minutes. And just remember that the council cannot respond.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor and Council, for allowing me the 5 minutes of your time. My name is Paul Allen. I happen to be a 5th generation family member of this Gila Valley. It's dear to me. I'm also a retired Phoenix Police Detective Sergeant, now living in this valley after I've retired. I also hold an FAA dispatcher's license. I want to speak to you a little bit about Jet Crafters FBO. Jet Crafters is a corporation run by Mr. Isidro Asias out at the airport. Some of the benefits, let me go over first, and then I'll, in the remainder of my time, address some other issues. Our goals as an FBO: we are a licensee of AvFuel, which is a Fortune 500 company. We have the support of AvFuel to sell their gasoline products for aviation purposes. We've also established a nonprofit in the area, and in that nonprofit, we are intending to open a flight school to generate interest in the area of aviation and other aircraft services. We intend to also approach the county about a juvenile diversion program where juvenile offenders can come to our FBO and be taught skills in the area of aviation, so it might further improve their lives. We have plans. We have on reserve a fire truck, 10,000-gallon fire truck that we can keep out at the airport. Right now, the response time for the city of Safford's fire department to the airport, about 21 minutes. We have immediate response capabilities. Also, we plan a scholarship to a worthy and deserving Safford High School student. $500 scholarship for outstanding achievement in technology. Those are the benefits. The biggest benefit that we see to the city of Safford is the amount of tax revenue that we can provide the city. It's an enormous number. As I said, we are with AvFuel. We are a franchise of AvFuel. According to their computations and based on their membership services program, it's much like a Costco kind of thing where they have a card and they have member services. Based on their projections and how many card holders they have and can direct to the Safford Airport, we estimate approximately $2 million a year in tax revenue to the city of Safford. And I can tell you that's realistic. Since the time that we signed the contract with the city of Safford, it was May 7th, 2020. Since that time, and based on good faith, we at Jet Crafters had spent $1.8 million in improvements and furthering an FBO. Tremendous amount of money. We've been met with great resistance to opening our FBO, acts of intimidation, criminal acts, there was a letter that came from the city's attorney. It was supposed to be a certified letter delivered to us. That letter was never delivered to us. What we found quite some time later was the letter, having been opened, was delivered to us by an employee, an unknown employee pilot of Ponderosa Aviation. He brought it over and said, "You may be interested in this." That's not accurate service. The two areas, and I understand I just have a short time, the two areas that letter mentioned when we did receive it is that we were not in compliance with the gate, entrance gate. At that time, all you had to do was reach under and push a button, and it would allow anybody entrance into the interior of the airport. A great concern, great safety concern and risk. We approached the city of Safford in a meeting on June 9th of 2021. In that meeting was representatives from Jet Crafters, Mr. Casella, and Mr. Lance Henry, the airport manager. We asked the city for monies to repair that fence, that gate. We were told that the city had no money for that. We offered to pay the costs of that, and we were told, and it was reported by Mr. Henry, to go ahead and keep us advised. That was one of the areas, I see my time is up. That was one of the areas that was listed as us being not in compliance and our lease terminated. Again, we never got the letter. We didn't have 30 days to repair, but we made repairs, and we issued key fobs to all those people that needed access into the airport. There are many other things that I just don't have time to tell you that were criminal, that were efforts to intimidate us into not having an FBO. I urge you to reconsider. We have plans to work with the city of Safford for the mutual benefit of the city, of us, and the community. Thank you for your time. Please excuse me for going just a few seconds over.
That's all right. We thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. Okay, we have another non-agenda item request, Kevin Burnett. And if you please, would you state your name and your address too, please?
Yes, my name is Kevin Burnett. I'm the CEO and president of Water Alliance Network Services. We are a global company that helps with water treatment, water filtration, finding water, and processing water. City of Safford has a big problem. We're running out of water. I have a solution. And the solution would be is that we have a lot of salt water. We have lots of salt water. I represent a company that for low cost, we can turn salt water into millions of gallons of drinking water to supplement water here in the valley. And these plants, they run. I've been doing them in the Philippines for the last 3 years. They had a drought, believe it or not, an island having a drought, but their pockets of fresh water were running out. So what we did is we designed desalination treatment plants that would produce 3.8 million gallons of water per plant. We helped them supplement 250,000 cubic meter of water to the city of Cebu. Each plant ran about $30 million. Most companies out there, when they see a city, they put a bigger tag on that. They say, hey, this is going to cost hundreds of millions. I say no. I'm here to help this valley. I've been in water treatment, water testing for 30 some odd years, and I'm here to help the city of Safford. If you choose to work with me, I would love to help the city of Safford, Thatcher, Pima, the Temple. They get salt water. They're treating it with acid to bring the salt level down. I can treat it for less than what they're pumping in chemical to bring better water to the Temple, to the cities, and not use chemical, deadly chemicals, put water into treatment plants. We have a method that I'd like to bring to the United States, a method that I'd like to bring to this valley to help this valley with good drinking water. And that's all I have, and that's all I wanted to present. I want to help the valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. There were no more other requests. Okay. So then we'll move on to item number 7, and this is a public hearing according to a revised statute 38.431.02. It's a public hearing regarding the transfer of a liquor license.
For owner of transfer for the Copper Steer Steakhouse and Saloon. And so all the proper postings have been done, the newspaper at the building, everything that the state requires. And I have not received anything on it as of now. So this is a public hearing for the time for public comments if there's anybody that would like to speak regarding that.
Okay. Are there anybody who wants to speak on this issue? Okay. Thank you. And we'll close the public meeting and we'll reconvene into our regular meeting. Item number 9, new business. This is a liquor license. It's a request for the mayor and the city council to make a recommendation to the Arizona State Liquor Board regarding this transfer of ownership of the liquor license.
And at this time, staff is recommending approval for that. Does anybody have any questions on it? In the council?
Second.
All in favor of approving the request? Aye. Opposed? Nobody. Motion carries, or the request carries. Then we'll move on to item number 2. That's to approve the council minutes of June 14, 2021.
So moved, Vice Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of June 14, 2021 council meeting, work session. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, then we'll move on to item number 10. These are resolutions. The first resolution is R21-016. That's a property tax levy.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. Tonight, staff is requesting approval of Resolution R21-016, approving setting the tax levy for taxes at 0.5135 for each $100 of the assessed valuation of property, subject to taxation within the city of Safford for fiscal year ending June 30, 2022. If you have any questions, I can answer.
The explanation you came out with the other day, that goes along in the media alongside the publication for the tax levy, or that's already been posted?
Vice Mayor, Councilman Lopez, everything that was required by state statute has been posted. In addition to that, after the comments from the last meeting, we did create a new public notice, and that was published on our Facebook page and on our website, and it will be in the newspaper as well. But it is in addition to, and it further explains how the property tax works and that we are not increasing the tax rate. we are required by state statute to post as is, and it can be deceiving because it does require some state that, there's increase in taxes. But the rate for the property tax is staying the same. The revenues will increase because the assessed value of properties will increase, and therefore our revenues will increase. But our tax rate will remain the same as the previous year.
Yes, ma'am. But if we're faced with the same thing next year, then this time it will go up along with it.
Vice Mayor and Councilman Lopez, that is correct. We will publish this notice ahead of time, and staff has already discussed that we will include further some more presentation during budget, just to allow council the opportunity to understand what the options are and why we've chosen to continue with staying with the same rate. And so staff will also provide more explanation during the budget process, as well as providing additional publications to the community.
Thank you, ma'am.
I was just curious if you know how long this council has maintained that tax rate. Because if I'm not mistaken, it's been that the whole time I've been on here.
Vice Mayor Ortega, Councilman McGoy, the last time that the council approved a change in the property tax was in fiscal year 2019 when you reduced it. The previous year was 0.5219, and then fiscal year 2019 you reduced it to 0.5135, at which time it has remained since.
Thank you.
I believe that the notice for the TNT would go in a different location in the paper than the press release. I think that
I'm not positive on that.
I'm pretty sure that the TNT goes into a different, it doesn't go where the press release would go. It goes into like ads or legal ads section. So they may appear in the same newspaper, but they wouldn't be side by side, nor would I recommend that we put them side by side, just because I don't want to have the state come back and say we're confusing the public even further. So they may appear in the same publication, but they wouldn't be next to each other.
Not yet.
Well, they technically couldn't be, I don't believe. They go in different places.
Okay.
I would have to check with the courier just to make sure
All right.
that, but I believe you're correct.
And that's, I think it's probably easier to see the way that we'll do it, because a lot of times the stuff that we have to post may be, as you said, kind of in the fine print in there, and this would be something that would be more easily visible.
Vice Mayor, Councilman Seal, that's correct. And again, what we would do is we would put it in multiple locations. So we put it on the website, we would put it on Facebook. It's unfortunate that that's the approach you have to take, but the language that they use, in my opinion, is misleading because it's language that's used in other areas regarding increases in taxes, and it's used in a different fashion. So again, this is something everybody deals with. This is ongoing for years that we deal with the same issue, the confusion of the TNT. So again, we'll do our best to try to put information out there. And again, we'll come back around to it next year and see if we can give specific examples and so on to make it as clear as we can.
Anybody else? If not, do I hear a motion to approve resolution R21-016?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more comments? Not. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Would you read it, Tammy, please?
Resolution number R21-016, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Grand County, Arizona, making levy for taxes for all purposes for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022.
Thank you. And we'll move on to item number 2. It's resolution number R21-018, Department of Agriculture application. Alma, again.
Vice Mayor Ortega and Council. Resolution R21-18 is a resolution authorizing the submission of an application for financial assistance with the USDA rural development under the Water and Environmental Program. We have 2 projects that would qualify for this grant. The first project being the East Lebanon Main Extension, and that project would be fully funded by the grant funds. And the second project would be the East Valley Sanchez Road. And we anticipate that we've had discussion with USDA, and they anticipate that the grant would fund about approximately 75% of that project, and then we would receive a loan for the other 25%. The way it was in the budget, we had a 35% was going to be grant funded, and 65 would be a loan that we would have to receive. But in speaking with USDA, they believe that it would be closer to a $75 or 75% grant funded, which is great. And once the application is processed, they'll finalize those numbers, and we can bring an update back to council with those final numbers. But this is just a resolution approving that we can apply and process the application for those grants.
Anybody else?
But it's not obligation of anything at this time.
Vice Mayor Ortega, Councilman Lucas, that's correct. At this time, this is just going to process the application, and we would be able to, they can run the numbers and provide us with what that funding would look like. And so the first project, the East Lebanon Main Extension, we anticipate that being 100% funded by the grants.
Yeah, that was, I remember when the residents out there came, these are old dated CIPs, year 17 and year 18. Of course, the 100% paid for, I like that. That come about with it being colonialized in the area, I believe.
Correct.
That helped with that. I'm hoping that it's also going to help our infrastructure that's going to feed that way. It's been so long, I forget how far away we are from it. So I guess we'll find out when Mr. Henry puts all that together for us.
I don't have all the details of the project, but if you'd like Morgan to speak to this project.
No,
Okay.
not this time. I can get him later. But now, so we, on the other one, taking out a loan on it. Who would we apply for the loan with? WF,
With the loan, correct. We would apply. So the remainder, if it does become a 25 or 75, 25%, where we're responsible for approximately 25%, it would be around $2 million. And yes, we would apply for a with a loan.
Ours wouldn't be $2 million.
Our portion would be $2 million of that project. The total for that project is it's about 7.8 million is the total for that project.
Yeah, I see the 7 million. So yeah, there is some questions later on when I get them written down. I'll be asking Mr. Seal, because that's quite a project. I don't know. But, okay.
Anybody else? We need a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution number R21-018. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Could you read that one too, Tammy, please?
Resolution number R21-018, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, authorizing the submission of an application for financial assistance with the United States Department of Agricultural, Rural Development under the Water and Environmental Program.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll move on to item number 3, resolution R21-019. That's an ADOT grant for taxiway aid.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. This is a request for Vice Mayor and Council to review and approve Resolution R21-019, accepting a grant from ADOT, ADOT Airport Surface Treatment Program 2022 to assist in funding a 1-inch mill and overlay and pavement markings for the South Regional Airport Taxiway A with a construction estimate of $571,488. I was contacted by the state airport engineer the first of this month. He let me know that the airport had been included in this program for the 2022 fiscal year. Originally, it was programmed for the 2024 APMS program, Airport Pavement Management System program, but it had been moved up. They had some extra funding. Under this airport surface treatment program, ADOT does all the design, supports the bidding process, does all the construction administration. ADOT will pay 100% of the design cost. We pay the full 10% of the full construction cost. which would be approximately $57,149. Just to mention too, this is just because it's got bumped up in our program doesn't mean that it's not needed yet. One of the comments we got from our FAA third-party inspector out there that was there in April was that taxiway A was in need of some help, and so we were going to get it on our CIP list anyway, which would have took a year or two to get out. I'm happy to hear from the state airport engineer to contact us that this would be bumped up and get going, and I think it's a good thing to get happening. The sooner or later, the soonest the construction would happen would be April of next year, the very soonest, but at least we can get it processed. So staff's recommending participating in this program and accepting the funds for this 1-inch mill and overlay. The local match of $57,000 would come from the FY 21-22 contingency fund, since we didn't budget for this, to cover the expenditure, and reserves would provide the revenue. And I've included the letter from the state airport engineer as well as the resolution if you have any questions.
Anybody have any questions or?
I had concerns about this too. It wasn't due till 2024. I asked Mr. Henry, are we getting ahead? Are we doing it before it's needed? Are we going to extend it next time when it's needed? And he said no, that after the inspection, they found a need for it, and it just so happened that the monies were made available at a good time when we did need it. And so it's time to do it on now because of the cracks in the inspection that took place. And certainly asked him about the contingency fund, and that's because he wasn't planning on it. So that's why he wants to dip in there already.
That's what's good. Yeah. Was that a motion to approve?
That's a motion, Vice Mayor.
With a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution number R21-019. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Henry, could you read that one, please?
Resolution number R21-019, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, authorizing the city manager to accept a grant for state funds from the Arizona Department of Transportation for the purpose of aiding in funding a project for a 1-inch mill/1-inch overlay and pavement markings for taxiway A at the Safford Regional Airport.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll go ahead and move on to item number 11, and that's the announcement of current events.
Vice Mayor, I have information for the parade Saturday that the council is going to be participating in.
What time's the parade?
10 o'clock.
And it starts at
Behind the courthouse.
Okay, having something at the courthouse before?
Yes, it's going to be right at 10 o'clock. Everything's going to start then. We're going to have the flag raising ceremony, 2 speakers from the American Legion, and then 2 songs, patriotic songs, and then we'll start the parade.
So that's what starts at 10 o'clock, not 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And I'll be with you if I'm not with you on our part, but I'll be there.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, then we'll move on. Report on operational items listed below. First.
All right, good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. My name is James Carbajal. I'm the Business Service Administrator. I'm here to present to you an overview of the Utility and Business Service Department's meter install and replacement standard operating procedures. I'd first like to preface that what we are providing are highlights from this SOP, and that the actual document goes more in depth with a large amount of high-level information. So to start, I'd like to go over the current meter coverage that we have around the area and the role that the utility departments have in this process. So currently, the city of Safford maintains roughly 16,900 meters within Safford and the surrounding areas. Each utility has approximately 5,000 electric meters, 3,600 gas meters, and 8,300 water meters. So with this amount of meter coverage, it's important for staff to follow a clear internal operating procedure so the city can ensure accurate meter information for billing. So staff has come together to create a comprehensive standard operating procedure that incorporates each utility department's work procedures on installing and replacing meters. While each utility meter's install or replacement procedure may differ slightly, all utility departments are required to complete a form with their specific meter information. While in the process of creating this SOP, staff have included additional information to the current forms to help give staff added verification on either completing their paperwork or inputting it into the billing software. Some examples of these additions include information such as multiplier formulas and service entrance sizes for in the case of electric department. Once the utility departments complete their forms, they will provide a copy to business services, who is then responsible for inputting that information into the billing software. So here we have an example of how the process flows from start to finish in a basic flow chart. If you follow my laser, I'll walk you through it. If you can see it, barely. First, we start off with the customer submitting a new service application form at customer service. The utility department then sends a quote for the materials to the customer and customer service.
Sure. Do you also include the inspectors in this too? Because sometimes the inspector is ready for a turn on and you're not, or you're ready for a turn on and they haven't inspected it yet. Is the planning and zoning on this too?
So whenever Vice Mayor, Councilman Lopez, whenever we do the new service application forms, the utility department heads for each utility department are included. Once we get to the building permits, let me think about this. So I don't want to give you any inaccurate information.
That's never happened before.
Yeah. I don't want to give you anything that I'm not entirely sure on. I can get back with you later just to.
Okay, there have been customers complain, ready to go get things turned on, and say, you guys did it, and planning and zoning wasn't ready for you to do it yet because they hadn't had it inspected, or vice versa. There's plenty of blame that has gone both ways here, but I didn't see them in the loop here.
Vice Mayor, Councilman, the simple answer is yes. When we get the application, it's also sent to the building inspectors.
Or the answer is now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it always has been.
Well, okay, because comprehensive is a big overused word that doesn't always really apply, but go on, sir.
Service sends them to us. They also send them to the building inspector.
Okay.
So the utility department then adds new equipment and the meter at the service address. Once all work is completed, the department completes their meter installation paperwork, which they will then submit to business services. Business service then inputs that meter information into the billing software. And finally, all departments will then work on monthly and yearly metering audits, which are a new addition to our current process. So these monthly metering audits are designed for staff to review each utility's new meter installations for that month with a different utility worker verifying on-site that the information provided is correct. The yearly metering audits are designed for staff to review all the meters that are out in the field for each utility and ensure that all meter information is accurate for that year. So these audit reports can include information such as multipliers, meter sizes, locations, and rates. These audits are important because it gives the city additional opportunities to review our data and ensure accuracy between all departments. It gives staff an additional check of that data and verify that the information in the system matches what is in the field. While the utility departments work on installing or replacing new meters and equipment, advanced metering infrastructure technicians work on the daily monitoring of all meters and verify that they are reading and reporting correctly to Census Analytics, which is our metering software that collects all of our meter data. In addition to AMI's daily reporting, they will also work on monthly reports called exceptions. This exception report checks for usage that is outside of a high and low percentage range from a meter's previous month's usage.
That's another high and low. But now, when we went to AMIs, everybody thought that we weren't going to need humans to go there anymore. But that's what we do, because there's some problems that go on. we've never had any information on how these meters are doing, how their life is. Are the screens holding up on, say, the electric meters, battery life? Are they really living up to the whole cell on the whole scale of the cell that we bought this on? Are they holding up? We don't know.
So Vice Mayor, Councilman Lopez, I stated earlier that AMI does daily reporting. And that daily reporting includes looking at all the meters and making sure that any aren't orphaned, which an orphaned meter would mean that it's in our billing software, but it's not reporting directly to Census Analytics.
It's not sending you a correct
It's not sending
signal.
us, it's getting a read, but it's not sending us information in Casell. And we also look for meters that haven't reported in the past 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. So if a meter were to be dead, for example, it's not reporting, there's nothing on the dial or on the screen, then it wouldn't be reporting to our Census Analytics. So our AMI guys look at all these meters and they make sure that none of them aren't reporting longer than 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours.
But do they report every hour, every 15 minutes?
They report every hour.
All three meters.
All three meters report every hour.
Yeah, so that's where you capture a lot of leaking toilets or stuff like that on Aqua to let somebody know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you also said that you're using a formula to calculate some stuff, and that's the one that has irked me in the past. Is I don't know what formula you're using. It just seemed like when we didn't have the right ratios reported on some of the electric meters, it was a blame game. Somebody didn't give you the right number. You didn't receive the right number, back and forth and stuff. So that can be cured with what you're doing, double checking it, yes. But there's still, when you say the formula, that's where it gets a little deeper on capturing all the information that the electric meter needs to pick up. The water's a lot more sensitive. It can sense a leaking toilet, welling up, 220 gallons an hour on a leaking toilet, and it can still sense where it's under 10 gallons is what I'm understanding. That's where I'm also concerned about the electric. If you have the school going full bore during the day and then drops down to a trickle at night, do we have the right formula and sensitivity to capture that too? That's what I've been asking for years.
So Vice.
And here comes Dan behind you.
So Vice.
Ask it all the time.
I'm not sure what exactly your question is about the electric meters.
Because we've talked about it in the past where the ratio is one thing. It's easy enough to say it's a 200 to 5 and write it down correctly and pass it on, and they got it correct in the billing. But is that actually the size of equipment we want there? Because you have a 2-inch water pipe feeding the school, for example, and during the day that's full, and then at night it drops down to the size of a straw. Is our meter sensitive enough to pick up that volume in the straw when the water meter can pick up 10 gallons different? I don't know that the electric is picking that up.
Now, that depends on the CT that you're using.
Yes, sir.
And we are using a high accuracy CT currently. And they are capturing everything. Talking about CTs is a conversation that could take quite a while. You know that as well as I do.
Yes, sir.
A lot of it is based on opinion and expert advice. There's a big topic right there with a lot of moving parts in it. But that CT, nowadays, they're more accurate. They're picking up everything. They're designed to. They make them where you can use one CT for multiple different sizes of services entrances. You can go like from 100 amp to 800 amp with the same CT. You can capture everything if you're using these high accuracy CTs.
I know things have changed when it used to have to be more accurate. Now you're saying that nowadays they're more receptive to capturing this.
They are. There's so many different types of CTs, and they have to be rated and approved and tested before they go out into the field.
Okay.
There's ANSI ratings that they have to be capable of accommodating, and IEEE ratings that they have to be.
Even the wire length in the installation has to be taken into consideration. That's what I'm asking, is it getting done?
But there's been a lot of advancements in it. You can use one CT for a multiple of different applications.
Okay.
Again, this is a big topic. There's a lot of conversation involved in that, and again, it comes down to opinion, depending on who you're talking to. They're going to say they like what they're used to, and you got to go. You base your decision off of what the manufacturer recommends. Also, we've talked to our engineers about it, and I've had multiple conversations. What we are using is a high accuracy CT.
Okay, because this gentleman can only enter the data you give him.
And I know exactly what you're talking about. All these businesses at night when they're just running a light bulb in there, are we picking that up?
Yeah, well, I'm talking about 100 light bulbs, and so if we lose 100 light bulbs, we're losing something. So, yeah. Kind of a dead horse, Mr. Carbajal, but you have to be part of it.
Oh, well, I'd like to close by saying that all utility departments, AMI technicians, and business services are working together and will continue to work together in the future to improve processes. Staff will be continually updating our processes, equipment, and systems to ensure accuracy amongst departments and improve our workflow.
Yes, sir. Mr. Carbajal, you hung in there. When you got here, it was a mess, and you hung in there, and I'm appreciative of what you've been doing.
Thank you, sir. That is all I have for you this evening. Look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we move on to Morgan. Safford Water update.
Vice Mayor and Council, good evening. This is an update for our water production, City Safford Water Department. First slide I wanted to present to you is the production, and the focus of this slide is Bonita Creek and the percentage that Bonita Creek offered, and this is the production of the month of May, so last month. You can see that Bonita Creek produced 54% of all production of the water supply. What's interesting there is that I've never seen Bonita Creek fall below 50%, and we're getting pretty close, where I've never seen the wells produce 50% or more of our production, and Bonita Creek has always been a majority of the production. We still are a majority of the production here, but we are falling pretty close to that 50%. The next slide is a 3-year water table. The focus here is the blue line, which is the right of the 3 lines. The left, the red line is the 2013. We always base our water tables off of 2013 levels, which is why we do that is because that's the year that we introduced the water restrictions. As you can see, our water tables are above the red line. Next slide is the month of May consumption. This is what our users used in the month of May, and I wanted to go back several years just to see kind of the history behind it. And in 2014, users used 101 million gallons for the month of May. And in 2015, they used 100 million. In 2015, November, we actually lifted the restriction, stage 2, and we reduced it down to stage 1. So in 2019, users used 100 million. 2020, 117 million. And just this last month, we used 117 million gallons. So just a reminder of what stage 1 is. This is currently what we're in. Stage 1 is excessive demand alert. Water users specifically encouraged to minimize waste in water used for irrigation, vehicles, and pavement washing, construction, and other water consuming activities. No person shall wash pavement areas such as drives, sidewalks, tennis courts, or basketball courts. Outside watering shall be prohibited between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Outside watering limited to 2 hours on designated allowed watering days, and the allowed water dates are determined based on the last digit of address, with even numbers watering on even days and odd numbers watering on odd days. Kind of wanted to touch base on our water conservation efforts. Matthew has been posting weekly on Facebook. We did an update of the city website. We also posted a sign on the Chamber of Commerce and then also the consumer cost report that goes out to every water customer that we have. That should be hitting the mailbox if you haven't received it already. And that is something that you don't throw away. You take that home and enjoy it. So we do have a little tidbit in the back, kind of going over some water conservation tips and kind of where we're at with things. I've also reached out to Graham County and Thatcher and asked if they would be willing to post on their websites a link for water conservation, and they both seemed willing to consider that. Any questions?
I have more of a comment. Somehow we have to bring this, refresh the public's minds how to conserve water, and probably especially our big institutions, because when you see schools and counties watering at 2 in the afternoon, I mean, that's, common sense. If you don't water at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I just think we just have to, remind our customers in that to be, conscious of conservation.
Vice Mayor, thank you.
You talking about initiating a campaign to remind them again?
I think so. It should be continual, year round. I mean, it doesn't hurt. You forget easy.
I wasn't planning on throwing that vote away. I mean, that CCR away. That does have quite a bit of good information on it. And that went in my bag. So
All right.
I like that.
Thank you, Morgan. Any other comments or anything? All right. Then
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
Talk about anything else? Clerk saying no.
Well, if not, we need a motion. There's a game going to be starting.
Make the motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Well, motion a second. Meeting's adjourned.
That clerk's like that.